It's our time. It's our time.
Hey there, I'm Shubeeh from North of Normal, and this is One Song, One Story. The concept is simple. Each guest brings a song, and together we explore what it means to them, the memories it holds, the feelings it unlocks, and the story it tells about who they are. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Gareth Palmer, therapist, musician, artist, and someone who has played a quiet but significant role in my own creative journey. The conversation moves between humour and depth, creativity and discipline, therapy and music, and the strange ways songs can carry meaning across decades. Gareth brings a track that isn't just about sound or lyrics, but about spirituality, seeking, and those moments of transcendence that don't come from gurus or methods, they just arrive. Okay, let's get into it. Enjoy. Welcome to the One Song, One Story podcast, Dr. Gareth Palmer. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Shubeeh?
I'm very well, very well. Very excited about doing this with you. How's your day going so far?
It's okay. I've had my breakfast and read the paper, the LRB, and figured out what I'm going to read later on.
Oh,
And wiped some condensation off the windows. I meant to get a coffee before we started this, but I fucked that up now, so I'm not going to be having that.
And if your day was a song, in that case, what would the title of that song be and what would the vibe be?
The song I listen to on the way to work a lot is by Röyksopp, which is a Norwegian duo, and funky electronic music, and it's called Resolve. It's on Profound Mysteries, Volume 2, and I listened to that. Some Resolve, I think it's called. I listened to that. It's a driving, thudding, solid piece of music that evokes my spirit animal, which is the rhino. It's just a hideous, monstrous beast that has somehow managed to survive. That's how I see myself.
And one thing I like to do with guests on the podcast is actually just explore a song that connects us. So I will ask you if you've got a song that connects us, but I'll do ours first. So the song that connects us is actually one of my own, which isn't just a gratuitous, shameless plug. There is a reason.
That's the only type of plug that's worthwhile, isn't it? The rest are pretending not to be plugs. It's like when somebody finishes something, what's your feedback? I don't want feedback. I just want love. No one wants feedback. Oh, I think you should have done this differently. I've finished the film now. Oh. Anyway, sorry. I'm ranting going on.
It's a song called One Way Fare. One of the first songs I wrote on piano, and the reason I chose it is because you are my therapist. I can't remember for how long, but it was a long time ago when I started.
Over 10 years.
Over 10 years.
It's over 10 years, yeah.
I remember what was happening at the time. My brother had been around. He left his keyboard around my place, and I didn't play keyboard at the time. And I told myself I was going to learn keyboard, teach myself keyboard, and I learned like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, heard it through the grapevine, and I was having fun. But I remember having this session, my first therapy session with you, and I remember writing about it as well. It felt, when I came out, it felt like that satisfying feeling when you unclip the lid off a Tupperware. Felt a huge amount of freedom. And
I've been compared to a lot of plastic in the past, but okay.
But yeah, I remember going home and writing this song, One Way Fare. So that was the first time I'd really sat down on piano and written my own songs. And that one always sticks with me. And it's a song about kind of feeling a lot of mental freedom and not looking back and stuff like that. So that one's, I always link that to you. My other choice was Half Light, one of yours, which I think is a really beautiful song. I just listened to that before we jumped on as well. So it was a tough choice. One of yours, one of mine. I went with one of mine.
That's really okay. But if you want to play one of mine, that's all right as well. Because that song, I wrote that song 45 years ago.
Holy shit, 45 years.
45, 46 years ago on the way back from practice on a bridge. And I wrote the thing is, and it was late at night, and I had to write all my songs in my head because they weren't really keen on me playing guitar in the house at all. So all the songs were sung on the street like some random nutter. And I would sing them on the way home. And I would think, well, if I remember this song, it's all right. It must be okay. So I would get in, and find a way of sketching it out. And then, at practice, we would work the songs out. We're very chuffed for that one.
I love that one.
It's
so much when that chorus, I think you call it a chorus, when that Half-Life bit comes in, it's really beautiful. For years, I thought it was Half-Life song all about like decay. And then I looked for it before. I was like, oh shit, yeah, Half-Life. Completely misread this one. Never a big one for the lyrics.
I love mishearing. One of the lines from I'm Still Standing, Elton John.
Yeah.
And one of the lines I thought was shouting like a whiskey on a motorbike.
Oh, it's a pretty good image.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good image.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to drop Half-Life. One Wayfair doesn't exist in the public domain, but I will link Half-Life to this
because
podcast.
you were playing, weren't you? Didn't you have some gigs and you were playing piano somewhere?
I was doing open mics, but all that started after this. After this. So it was really this journey of suddenly writing my own stuff on piano and then started doing open mics and stuff. But yeah, I remember thinking I could actually write a song. That was a bit of a revelation to me. I was like, still trying now. Interesting you say writing them in your head, because that is actually where I've landed as my songwriting technique now. Probably don't have much time to sit and play, and means I don't get to practice and explore musically much. But I will, because if I sit down in front of the computer and start looking at technology, it will distract me. So I only sit down when I've got a full song in my head.
Right.
Seems to work for me right now. Full set of lyrics, all the bits, know the tune. So all I'm doing is the nuts and bolts instead of staring at it. Yeah.
That's really impressive, because if it sinks in upstairs in here, then it has some merit, at least the merit of novelty. And that's what's working out whether it'll happen on the piano then. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a song that connects us, Gareth?
I don't have a song that connects us, but that would be, frankly, that's a really, really interesting question. I'd have to zip through my memory and have a bit of a think about it.
Zip away, sir, zip away. We will come back.
It's a really interesting idea, that. Some therapists play music in the session.
Really?
Yeah, they play music. It's not Led Zeppelin or
just for their own kicks, or
but just
therapeutically.
Something in the back. Maybe they're not comfortable with silence or something. I was thinking, if you play music in the session with somebody, then there's bound to be a song that's going to come up. So one of the songs that's just come up to mind is Ernie, the Fastest Milkman in the West.
Ernie Hill.
Yeah, that's it. And the line that I connect with, I think, is this. He says, "I said you want it pasteurized, because pasteurized is best." She said, "Ernie, I'll be happy if it comes up to me chest." That tickled old Ernie. And he drove the fastest milk cart in the West. Yeah.
It's a classic.
210 from Teddington, he drove a baker's van. Always a lost lyricist. Yeah. So I reckon that's a very, very funny. He's a very, very funny writer.
That will be the one now. That will be the one that connects us.
I love
this idea of therapists playing music. It's like to maybe just drown out the client a little bit.
Yeah, or see if the client notices you secretly move the volume up. And then, they talk again, and suddenly you listen to Led Zeppelin. Yeah.
Like, could you turn it down a bit? No. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Also, you can play it on random. You just have random stuff on. And you can imagine how really challenging it would be just to have random music coming on. A random song just popping up, and how difficult that would be. I'm actually I just, when I reflect on my practice, I'm a really quite conservative therapist. Really quite conservative. This is what we're going to do. Here's the agenda. Whereas I do know some people who are wacky and creative, and I really admire that. I just
let's try whacking on a playlist of pop hits next time. See what it adds.
Yeah. I'm just unusually conservative, I think. I don't know. I don't talk to many others. No.
But you have chosen a song. Seems like a good link. You have chosen a beautiful song, which feels like it has spiritual undertones, all sorts of things going on, and we will absolutely get to it. Very excited to discuss it with you. I thought before we get there, we could explore a little bit about your creativity. So yes, you are a therapist, but in the time I've known you, you are musician, prolific artist, I would say. There was a time where it felt like you were painting every day. There seems to be a huge creative thread running through your life. Where do you think that came from?
Escape. So what I wanted to do was to leave home as soon as I could, and I was going to go to art school. I was encouraged to go to art school. I was going to go at 17, 18 because I messed up the other years, and I was messing up my A-levels. But then at the age of 16, I discovered girls and drinking, and that took me in another direction entirely. At that point, I started to heavily invest in writing songs and performing the clubs and things like that. And I had a band called The Nice Fish.
The Nice Fish.
The Nice Fish, yeah. And we recorded lots of stuff. I must have recorded over 15 years, 200 songs. We're just doing lots of stuff, playing all the time. It was a female singer because I could be abrasive on stage if everyone wasn't paying attention. So we really, I wrote these, listen. So I did that. So we got someone else infinitely more attractive to look at, and I just settled into the rhythm guitar role, which I like a lot anyway. And then I went away, university, and carried on writing and performing with some other people in university as well. And but I was mostly trying to focus on a career. And I first heard this song in 1986, 87, when I was living in a cottage on the edge of a golf course in Dunblane. I did my PhD in Stirling, and I very relaxed supervision. So I was able to write and explore lots of things. And my God, I did. I did lots of stuff. And I used to sneak on the 2nd with my clubs and play until the 16th. So all those holes were invisible from the clubhouse. So I could just sneak back in the house after. I played every day golf, and I remained unbelievably bad at golf. I just people queue up to watch me drive. The drive could go anywhere. Awful golfer. Terrible. But at that time, I was also singing and writing songs a lot. And I think it's at this point that the song came into my life. But before that, just to briefly summarize, I got married, career, 20 years from PhD to professor. And then in the middle of that area, I did a diploma in hypnotherapy and psychotherapy. And then at 50, they made me a professor. And in that year, I got a call saying, would you like to do psychotherapy? And I started when I was 50 and left the university when I was 54. And they edged down the number of times I spent there. And
Mm.
And that's what I do now. And so it was around the age of about 55, I started painting again, returning to what I did when I was 17. And I still
Yeah.
paint a little bit now and draw a lot. And I've done these therapy cards, which 3cardtherapy.com. And I'm going to write a book about, I'm in the process of writing a book about those. So I appreciate your applause. I no longer post on Instagram. I took myself off Instagram 3 weeks ago because it was just insane nonsense that was distracting me. So I've got to crack on.
Mm.
Another young man. So there you go. That's a summary of my. I don't think of myself as a creative person. I just think of myself as someone who works
Really?
at various. I don't. I think of myself as a guy who works. It's important for me to work. It's important for me to write. It's important for me to. If I'm doing a drawing, it has a purpose. So
Mm.
purpose is really important to me.
So I was going to ask you about that because I'm probably not as familiar enough with your music to see that in there. But certainly when I see your art, there does seem like there's a purpose. Um, how would you describe that purpose? Is it something you're trying to process yourself, or what do you think the purpose is behind the art that you create? Painting specifically more so than music.
Well, because I go about my work as a therapist in quite a logical and ordered way, the art that comes out ends up being illustrative of the points, but it doesn't come through a logical or process channel. So it's a useful way of illustrating what I'm trying to say and get across with clients. It doesn't seem to come through that channel.
Mm.
I think one of the great blessings of having no talent at all is that when stuff comes through, you just go, oh, let's go with this. Let's see what we do with this. And I don't any training or anything like that. So I'm just doing things. And if it ends up having an effect on someone else and it illustrates a point, well, that's super. But I don't think, oh, I'm a talented artist. I just think I'm just doing stuff. And if it works, it helps people to think and process their own stuff. And that's super. But I think I was a talented lyricist, but I haven't written
Mm.
a song for 15 years. That's how I'd
My
put it. I
God,
was
that sounds like
good lyricist.
the brief for a sitcom.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that's one of my things. I love sitcom. Huge fan of sitcom.
Yeah, you give
I'm
me some
currently
great
watching it.
recommendations.
Thank you. I'm currently watching a complete history of the sitcom on Sky Arts, I think.
Oh,
And it's okay. It's people from the industry saying stuff, and it's occasionally amusing, but it's a subject that really, really interests me.
yeah,
Great
yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah. Now, I always say, because I think I've inherited my parents. I think they're clinically depressed, not just because of me and my sisters. And I always say, so it's a subconscious thing. I'm going to watch something to cheer myself up. That's how I think about stuff. It's going to cheer me up. So I'll watch a sitcom first thing in the morning to cheer me up. So I'll watch Raymond, which I think is a beautiful thing. And of course, the craftsmanship of Frasier, which is a beautifully made sitcom. But there's so much there. I watch stuff to cheer me up. I watch a Community at the moment because that is
Oh,
very, very clever. And that
that
cheers
is
me up.
so good.
It's a
So
very
good.
clever piece of work. Very good.
Yeah. I haven't actually got Sky, but I was around my parents and I saw they've got a documentary on a Chevy Chase documentary,
Oh,
uh, which looks
right.
fascinating because I don't think it's all like, isn't Chevy brilliant? I think there's a lot of people on there saying like, he's a
He was a
prickly
difficult man.
motherfucker.
It's
Yeah.
a difficult man. Yeah. At the end, when they lost the showrunner, he would play the cast and crew tapes of Chevy Chase shouting down the phone at him because they would make fun of it because he was just off the rails. Because he was a star from a time when stars could hold up a picture because, they felt itchy or the
Yeah.
blankets are wrong in their changing room. Whereas we're in a different age now and there are fewer people who can do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But Community is great fun. Really good fun. Very clever.
Yeah. Great show.
I'm not, yeah, it just strikes me as I'm not used to talking about myself at all. I spend all my time talking to other people. And because people know what I do, not around here, I hope, but most people just talk to me. So I spend a lot of time listening. So when I'm talking about myself, it feels awkward.
Yeah,
So,
it feels crazy for
yeah.
me too. It's a little bit intimidating
Yeah.
before I got on. I was going to open with, tell me about your mother, but I thought maybe it is probably time to find out what song you brought with you today, Gareth. So what is the song that you brought with you?
So the song I brought with me is In the Garden by Van Morrison from the No Guru, No Method, No Teacher album. I think was released in 1984. Briefly, my thing on Van Morrison was he's an extraordinary singer. Just an extraordinary singer with a really unusual tone. So that struck me. And secondly, he feels like he's very relaxed. So when you listen to a lot of his albums, the musicians feel like they're falling into place. And I just love that, and I so admire that. And this song is a good example of that. Thirdly, he's really engaged with the mystical spiritual in this really I don't care what people think way. I've since read a little about him, and he is what he calls himself a seeker. So he's looking for some kind of insight into the spiritual. And a lot of albums touch on that. I forgot the name of the album. But weirdly enough, I didn't make this connection until an hour ago. I was interviewed previously, as you know, with my band to ask for favorite songs, and this was I was too heavily engaged in drinking at the time to be that coherent. But there was a album that I chose then as an album that's important for me. It's called Inarticulate Speech of the Heart. And what kind of phrase is that? Inarticulate speech of the heart. I guess it's poetic, but it's not very elegant, is it? But he keeps saying it. Inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech of the heart. I'm a soul in wonder. I'm a soul in wonder. And he goes back to it. So, you know, just a couple of phrases manage to evoke the seeking that he's trying to do. And it's a gorgeous song.
It is
And so
gorgeous.
I'm kind of in awe of him. And it is creativity. He keeps going. He keeps going. So that you've got to admire. I don't imagine he's in financial trouble. Probably not living a 2 up, 2 down in Glossop somewhere. He's probably got a lot of money, but he keeps going. Bobby Dylan keeps going too, doesn't they? But these, you know, they go. Neil Young is got gigs next year. I admire these people who keep going, and they've no real need to. I don't think the idea of relaxing appeals to them very much. They just want to keep playing. I'm just flicking now. It just occurred to me that I talk to a lot of clients who are making money. They say, my plan is to retire at 50. I said, okay, what you going to do then? Nothing. I'm just going to do nothing there. Well, I said, I thought that's going to work for you. So the idea that to keep going, to continually be inspired by other artists it's a worthwhile thing, isn't it? Van Morrison's a great example of that.
I dream of retiring so I can spend more time being creative. That's the that's the goal for me.
If you've got an aim, great idea.
Yeah.
But if you've worked, as many people I talk to have, if you worked your whole life really hard, and then you stop, this is not good. Because as I say, your expected self, known by everyone else to operate in a certain way, is no longer functioning in that way. And it's debilitating. What do I do now? Who am I? What am I now? So if you've got an underlying creative project and you're going to do that, fantastic.
Yeah.
And these guys, of course, are great examples of the expected self, because they are known as musicians, working in a certain way, within a certain range, with a certain tempo. And they continue to do that. And we get great rewards from enjoying that.
It's a beautiful place to create from as well, though, right? If you're financially sound, your name is known, people will listen to it no matter what you create. It's like, if I want to wait 10 years and then I have an idea and put it out, it kind of takes all the pressure and the hard work off and frees you up just to...
that must be lovely.
Yeah. Very
it's how
nice.
you live with that creativity, isn't it? Because you do get some people that are going to, I don't disparage any other acts, but shall we say some of the successful acts from the 80s who you didn't think would last 3 singles have built, stadium careers on those 3 singles. And they've come to understand that no one's really interested in their new stuff. They just want to hear those old singles.
Yeah.
Because that music is a direct connection to their experience of the 80s. So it's a physical thing that comes over them.
I think if you're a band like that, you shouldn't do the full gig. You should just do a 3-song show Give everyone what they want. Everyone's happy. Everyone
Yeah,
leaves early.
absolutely. And why bother changing costume? Just get out there in your slops. Just go out there, do the stuff. Yeah. Thank you. Good night. They woke off again. Yeah, that must be nice. But that's the album. That's nostalgia. Yeah.
In
So
terms of
should we
his
get
song
back to the song?
choice, yeah, was it an
Right.
easy choice? I think you mentioned there was another one that might have been in the mix as ones that you would bring.
Yeah. So I'm going to name that incorrectly now, but they're public service broadcasting. Extraordinary outfit. Released an album called Race for Space.
Hmm.
And there's a song on that, I think it's Apollo 7 or Apollo 8, which is about the first time in which people in space lost touch with people in Houston, in Control Center. And if your history of that time is imperfect, like mine is, you hold your breath when the connection fails to be made for, I don't know what it is, 20 seconds. And then they reconnect. And it just brings me to tears. It's astonishing, the story of how masculine rationality, order, science, the whole business of space flight, extraordinary thing, extraordinary how we could come up with that, combines with the enormous relief of the emotional force that they necessarily have to push down to come up with these creations. So when they finally do make contact, it's emotionally powerful for me, and as it is for most of the people in the control area. So for me, it's a classic masculine example of rationality, order, and then release. I was going to put that on that, but that would be promoting, me as a therapist, and we're not here to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm just here to talk. But that's a fantastic piece of work, and I recommend the space race thing, Race for Space Public Service Broadcasting. Wonderful album. Now go and see them. Just do that. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I'll link that one too. Actually, that's pretty cool.
That's a lovely. It's Apollo 7 or 8. It's a wonderful piece. I have a lot of records, and I really like that. It's really good. Anyway,
check that out.
Let's come back.
Yes, you touched on this before briefly, but take us back for your song choice. Take us back to the moment you first heard it. Like, where were you? Who were you? What was happening in your world when you first heard this song?
Okay, so I first heard this song on cassette, on my little cassette player, little one-speaker cassette player that I had 6 years. I loved it very much. God, it taken a battering. I was living with Jan, who was a student of politics and sociology at the University of Stirling. She wasn't that dedicated a student, but she was a dazzling cook. Dazzling. I can get upset thinking about that. I mean, food would rush up to her when she entered the kitchen. Please. She was an extraordinarily gifted cook. Anyway, I was living with her, and I came across this cassette somehow and put it on, and the song polaxed me. I don't know why it was, but it was a hugely powerful moment to hear this song. It was really, really moving, and I didn't quite understand why. But some of the things I've already mentioned, it's the apparent casualness of it, and the fact that musicians are all going to fall together into this, frankly, rather spiritual, powerful song is extremely convincing and overwhelming. And I didn't overplay it, but I have played it, so that song reminds me of that time when I was postgraduate, and I was writing a lot of songs myself and reading a lot of Jung, which, informed my thinking. It had nothing to do with my PhD, but informed my thinking and my feeling at that time. I was also spending time with a guy who ended up being a psychotherapist, although he wasn't doing a PhD in that area either. And I was supervised by another guy who ended up being a psychotherapist, which is kind of weird. We are not in touch now. But being around people like that, and particularly this guy and his network of religious people, was quite important. And I remember we went to Glasgow, and we recorded 8 songs with him and his friend and a couple of others, and they were quite spiritually inclined songs too. Don't know where they are. Don't know where any of my stuff is. Shoved in a drawer somewhere, but there were some good songs there. And some of those songs were inspired by this song.
Yeah.
I can't remember stuff, but so it was a religious, moving, quiet experience for me. And I remember playing some of these songs to people in the band, and they could hear the inspiration and the influence of someone like Van Morrison. So at that time, big song, big thing for me.
Yeah,
Okay,
and you talked about this feeling of the music, but were you getting hit by the lyrics at that point as well?
I was very hit by the lyrics. So I think we could talk about the song a bit. So I think the song on the surface of it appears to be about him and meeting some girl that he'd seen in the past. And so I'll go through this. In one sense, it is lyrically extremely, I'll be banal. The fields are always wet with rain after a summer shower. Duh. Of course. Duh. What's next? So when you hear it like that, so I know, because I had that, I said, still have a very, very critical ear and eye for stuff. But then you listen and you settle into the song, and the first reading of it is just to say, it's a rather elementary love song. And then you read a bit, and you study a bit, and you hear a bit more, and then you come back to the songs I did 40 years later. Nearly 40 years later. And you hear it rather differently. Because now you're able to connect up what you know about Van Morrison to the song and some of the colors and some of the ideas. So it's really about some encounter with spirit. So the girl that he sees there, who, he clearly had a relationship with, is now evocation of spirit. She represents the part of the Holy Trinity. He's connecting to that in his own way. You were a creature wrapped in wonder. You had the key to your soul. So the idea here is that the blending of the people sitting in the garden is to be in a sort of heavenly, otherworldly place where you're able to connect to spirit. I think that's what the song is about. What he's saying is no guru, no method, no teacher, is that no one can teach you these things. There is no prescribed method for getting this experience. You just have this experience. And to be caught in the garden wet with rain with this woman is a key to that warm, loving spiritual connection. That means a lot more to me now when I hear it, given what I'm reading and given what I'm thinking about. And there are other lines, which he references down to my spine. I think he's talking about Kundalini, the rising of Kundalini energy. He talks about you are a violet color. Violet color is the seventh chakra. There are various references he makes that they clearly connect to me to be a profound spiritual experience for him. It's a lovely song. But what I like about this, I've said earlier, is that I'm conscious of bringing quite a systematic, ordered way of being to my work, for example. Whereas what he's doing, that would include songwriting, but he gathers these things together, and it sounds as if he's conjured them up in the studio, but they're clearly the product of a long period of reading and study. And meditation, reflection. These things just come together in the studio. So the music and the lyrics and the way the band are playing it all together just seems effortless and is peaceful and deeply convincing. And I envy that so much.
Yeah, and quite a fascinating part of his career when you consider this is the guy that wrote Brown Eyed Girl. This is like anything but a pop song. In structure, in form, in content. He's like exploring something completely different to what he, that idea of a pop song and is like people are going to like this.
Yeah, I don't know enough about his career and the trajectory. I think the album was recognized as a return to form. There are quite a lot of strong songs on it. That's interesting there, and it is informed by quite a lot of spiritual reading and thinking. But there's a kind of full circle in his career too, because he started out, very much connected to the West Coast, the kind of hippie movement, right from Ireland, of course, written a lot of popular songs. And then he's doing these things again now. But in the middle block of his career was a huge investment in the spiritual. And thank God he was given the opportunities to do this, in various studios, because there's the old studio mythos. In the old days, you had a recording studio. In the old days, you had a record label behind you, and they would send you into the studio for a few months to make your record.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that now. It's just an amazing way of doing things. And maybe you would have thought to say this, but maybe the ways in which record companies were set up at the time enabled people to experiment like that and come up with extraordinary records like this.
Mm.
Nowadays, things are much tighter on a much more ordered schedule because things are much more expensive and cost-driven. But, maybe it's the setup that enabled him to do this, to explore in this way. But that song is really moving for me because it connects on a personal level. It's a lovely love song, but it connects on a transpersonal, transformative level. It's about a spiritual experience, a connection that just seems to come together in a lyric.
Yeah, and curious to know, when you first listened to it, where were you kind of at within your spiritual journey then?
Okay. So as I say, at that time, I was studying. Just briefly, when I got to Salford, one of the jobs I had was to ensure we had a PhD program in which we had kept an eye over the students, so they couldn't just rush off and do their thing. So there were 4 or 5 points during the course of study where we would check on their progress and they'd get a little exam. Whereas when I was at Salford, when I was at Stirling, it wasn't like that. And so I had an enormous creative period in which I could just do what I liked. So I remember writing an essay on Kant, which wasn't entirely relevant, but they read it and thought it was very interesting. And then I spent literally years reading Jung and investigating Jung. So Jung for me was a connection to, things spiritual and transcendent and transformative. So, for example, I would look at certain artworks. Alexei von Javlensky, for example, did a series of paintings called Meditations. These are extraordinary pictures. And I found these in an art book in the library and had that for a while. And I would connect that to Jung and what Jung was trying to do with various archetypes. So I was kind of, I guess, intellectually exploring the significance of what he meant. I wasn't able really to get in touch with the symbolic in a way I have perhaps since. But that's where I was. In terms of the spiritual journey, I think that was something, that was something that came out in my music. And that came out in the connections I was making and the people I was talking to. I guess it was coming through in that way, although it was never expressed as such. It was just there in the background. Forming the music. I'm not the, this is more, talking to you is more time I spend talking about music than I think I ever have. Because I would write these songs. I'm serious. I would write these songs and play these songs, record these songs. And that was it. And then the next, and then the next, and then the next. So, at risk of getting a bit, mystical, I don't know what spirit informs me to keep going, but I know it doesn't allow me to rest and say, let's reflect on this song. I don't reflect on a song. I'm just doing the next one. So if someone had asked me about that, I would say, well, because I used to have a band and we used to turn up at the band every week with 2 or 3 new songs. And they would say, what is this? I said, some new songs. What about last week's song? We haven't really got our head around that yet. So it doesn't matter. I've moved on. So we've just constantly, and I think I've come to the psychological background to where I was sort of ceaselessly inventive, shall I say. I had to do a lot with home. But I don't reflect. I didn't reflect on the songs, don't reflect on the pictures. I just keep going.
Yeah. So
even talking about it now is a haunting, hesitating experience for me because I've not reflected on them. One of the reasons I've not reflected on them is because I don't know where they are. So as I say, I have 200 songs recorded Don't know where they are. I've made a series of little films, some of which, have won awards. Don't know where they are. They toured America. They've been at the Edinburgh Film and Television Festival. Don't know where they are. I sent you a film, didn't I? I made 3 years ago about the cross. Do you remember
Yeah, I
that?
love that one.
Don't know where that
I mean,
is.
it gets a little bit
I think
easier to
it's
track when
online.
everything's, yeah, once it's online, it's easier to track. But if
Yeah.
you're dealing with like physical stuff that you can misplace through moves and all that, then it gets.
We recently found the 16 pictures, so we know where they are. But I've been careless about keeping and storing my stuff because I never reflect on it. Just keep going.
Mm.
Morrison keeps going, right? I'm not sure if he sits around and reflects on what he's doing. He just keeps going with his stuff and then he performs. Yeah.
He does, but I like the way this, when guests come on the show, there's been songs that have been with them for 15, 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm always super curious about when it came in versus how it is now and how it's grown with them. And this is quite fascinating that somehow this song's found you and you thought, this is an incredible song, but your perspective on it now through knowledge, your own experience is actually something that sounds like it's gradually evolved over years.
So it's interesting, isn't it? So what moved me in the first instance was the music of it, because of the enviable casualness of this. And then suddenly it tying together and the beat changing in the last minute of the song, the more almost militaristic beat that comes in. It's just the casualness of it amazed me, and the quality of his voice. I wasn't really thinking through the lyrics because, on a banal, straightforward level, they're not great lyrics. But then, as I say, 35 years later, reading after considerable amount of reading and study, I'm going, oh, right, something much more profound is going on here. This is a man who's studied a great deal and has casually, brilliantly worked it into this song.
Yeah.
And now, right. And he's apparently spent a lot of time studying these kind of things, which is why the line, no guru, no method, no teacher. It's about saying that whatever processes you go through to read and understand things are going to be insignificant next to the transcendent moment in which you are touched by something great. And that is what he's trying to describe, I think, in the garden, is he's touched by something greater in the form of the moment with this woman.
Yeah. See, I'll listen to this. One of the things I love doing is having a bit of a deep dive into the song when it comes through. So a bit of research, and there's different theories on meaning and stuff like that. But I will listen to it. I always listen to it once, but this one, because it's not like a short pop song that you dive into, you're like, I get it. Probably listen to it like 10 times. And even each of those 10 listens, I heard something different. Like, first of all, I was like, oh, he's singing about himself. There is no woman. Then I was like, oh no, there is a woman. There's a family. But the line about halfway through, maybe listen 5, 6, that line just floored me and resonated so much. It's the no guru, no method, no teacher, just you and I and the Father in the garden. And I was like, fuck, that makes so much sense. And it kind of made so much sense with my own experience. But I also saw it as like two ways, because I get no guru, no method, no teacher is purely about your individual transcendent experience. However, in my journey, I have kind of had all those things that have led me up to that experience too. For instance, moments that I've had of transcendence have been supported by kind of a lot of intellectual understanding about my being from the likes of yourself and stuff like that. So I was like, I found it an even more interesting set of words. I don't know if that makes sense, but even within 10 listens, it was evolving for me so much. I was like, oh, I get it. I was like, oh, do I get it? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. And I'm not someone who really actually focuses on the lyrics in words, in songs too much, but there's something about this and something very personal about where he starts whispering as well. It's that really gets me, that bit as well. But yeah, there's something very powerful about it.
I tend to focus on lyrics first. and some music later. So when the music comes through and overpowers the lyric, that occasions me to stop and think. And also ties together what a perfectly crafted song blends music and lyrics together. That you don't really think of them as separate entities. They actually genuinely work. They can only work together, because sometimes you see, and there are many of these, aren't there, books of lyrics, and Jesus Christ, these are banal, but fixed to a certain tune, then they suddenly make huge difference, and you get it. They are part of a song, but certainly that works together. This is a lovely example of a song in which the words and music completely blend together, and it's beautifully done. And the fact that he can do it so easily tells me he may have been informed, or must be informed by some kind of spirit to say this. Because this escapes the logical, rational way of doing things. It escapes guru, method, and teacher. It just is. That's why it's such a moving experience. It's been lovely to hear it again.
Yeah, that is.
Because there aren't many songs. Because of my appetite, there aren't many songs that I remember or go back to. So, when vinyl started to sell again, the reason why it sold again was because the people who could afford to buy the records, generally as a middle class thing, were buying the records they used to listen to. Yeah. They were buying those records because they wanted to recreate the experience of having them in the first place, which is 70s, 80s. Whereas I have a record dealer where I live, and he knows what I like.
I love the way you say that. Sorry.
You'll like this. Huh? Yeah. You like this, you like this, you like this. So I'm always listening to new things, and I'm kind of reluctant to go back to many old records. And however, my son, 34, is very much invested in current scene because he's a musician with a lot of followers. He also has a big interest in the 70s soul music. So, we just got him one of those for his Christmas. So, going back to the past is fine, but I think it has to be balanced with some investment in the current what's actually happening in the music scene now. Having said that, Fontaine's DC, for example, I heard that 40 years ago. There's some things that are not so fresh.
Yeah.
Despite being wrapped up as fresh.
It feels kind of cyclical though once you've been around a while, isn't it? Like there'll be certain
Yep.
It's quite fascinating.
Punk is back now.
Punk is back, and I mean, punk's quite a tough one because, modern day punk is like it's slightly different to maybe how it started, but it's fascinating what comes back around. And what just never dies, there's still 70s and 80s nights, even though we're in 2025. Like, how long's that going to go on for? And what will be the next era in the future? Like, I can't see them having like 90s nights in 50 years' time.
I think it was 1978. So I saw the Clash, Johnny Moped, and it might have been the Slits, the triple bill in Cardiff. So we got a lot of the early punk acts in the late 70s and early 80s. Extraordinary. Extraordinary. The idea that the Clash would go on to be the next Rolling Stones was laughable. Then my first gig was Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Oh my God, that's like that is my favorite album ever. Favorite album ever. I think I went through a period of 3 years where I pretty much only listened to that. I discovered it late and just got lost in it for many, many years.
Astonishing album. But my first gig was that. My girlfriend was, her dad was in the council. So he got us 2 tickets for the gig. And we were so close to the front, I could hear the backing singers telling Dave Gilmour to cheer up. We were that close. Brilliant. It was astonishing. It was Sophia Gardens in Cardiff. That was my first gig. Just about 14%.
I actually went to see in the Manchester Arena. I went to see one of those a Pink Floyd cover band, like a really, really good one. And they were going to play. They played the whole of Dark Side of the Moon. But what I found fascinating is they literally played it note for note. Like, it wasn't like, oh, we're going to perform our version. It was It was like listening to the record live. And I always found that
Absolute
such a
facsimile.
fascinating decision. They were like, people don't want our
Yeah,
take. They want it. They want to literally hear it as it was.
yeah,
And it was amazing. I
yeah.
really appreciated that choice. I was like, thanks. That's exactly what I just want to hear it live.
It's a really good record. I also like, Wish You Were Here. It's a very strong album. I've not heard the
Yeah.
one since, but
Dark Side of the Moon is something else, though. I think some bits of work for me. I
beautiful.
mean, the themes, the subject matter, it feels like it's one long journey that may be broken down into 11, 12 tracks. Yeah, it's just, I tell you what, actually, when I play it on my phone, I do actually delete Money because I feel that that's
Right.
such a single in there. And if I take that out, I
Yeah,
actually enjoy the album as a real piece of art more so than if it's in there.
I know exactly what you're saying, and I wonder to what extent the record company might have thought, well, let's get a single out of them. Because if you go back,
Yeah.
I have no idea about that, just pure conjecture. But if you go back to start Pink Floyd, there were a couple of singles right at their history. See Emily Play
Yeah.
and Arnold Lane are very strong singles from the 60s. They're really good songs. They really
Mm.
work.
A question. If someone was to cover this
Sure.
song, who would you want it to be and why?
Then I would have to hire someone to kill them.
All right, that's an option. So that adds another layer to it. Is
It's just
who would you want to suffer for this?
just I don't I it's a great, and I haven't done enough research to find out. I dare say it has been covered. And sometimes, you can be amazed by the cover of a song and like it more than the original. It boggles my mind to think of somebody doing this better. It just
Yeah.
would not seem right. Do you know Song of the Siren?
No.
Song of the Siren I think it's a Tim Buckley song. Well, that was covered by This Mortal Coil. And that is a staggering improvement on the original, for example. That makes you forget the original, which seems halting and stumbling in comparison. That's a beautiful song. Well, I can't imagine anyone doing this with this song. It would not be right. Several of the other songs, it's fine for them to cover that, particularly the pop songs, but this seems like a deeply personal song, and I can't
I
imagine
was going to
anyone else
say that.
infusing it with the same breath.
That's a tough one. You ever played it yourself?
Good. Oh God, no. Wouldn't go near it. No, God, no.
Because I think when I searched
it's a
on
beautiful song.
Yeah, I searched on the song name, and I think there was a version below by Johnny Cash. I'm not sure; it might just be a different song with the same name. But yeah, I thought that when I listened to this a few times, I was like, it's not only a tough song to cover, it's almost like, why would you? And yeah, I was curious as to
Why would you do that?
yeah, unless someone was
Well,
so
for
touched
example, in
by it.
films, why would you? Well, two things come to mind. First of all, there are certain films. You say, why would you remake that? Well, I'll be
Yeah.
blunt. You remake it because you think you can make a couple of quid out of it. So Psycho is a textbook film, Hitchcock.
Yeah.
A very, very perfectly crafted film. And someone tried to remake that. It bombed completely, and it deserved to bomb because what the hell are you doing with a classic? Secondly, when you're talking about remakes, okay, well, Rick Rubin produced the American Songbook, and that was 4 or 5 albums of Johnny Cash singing songs with extremely minimal background. Hurt is a beautiful rendition of a Trent Reznor song. His version of Hurt is just gorgeous and way more moving than the original, which leads me to think, right, we can find this out. Had Johnny Cash covered it, he might have brought a kind of dignity and value to it. But I can't think that many people would. Because I know Johnny Cash was very involved in, he had his own religious struggles in his life, at least with his dad. And he might be an interesting person to cover it. And Rick Rubin, as time went on, there's quite a lot of songs now. We're talking about 4 albums, 5 albums. And I'm wondering whether, he pushed that towards the end. I'm not sure I even want to hear it. I don't want anything to get in the way. And because Johnny Cash's voice by then is shot. It's shot.
Yeah.
Which is why his version of Hurt is so moving. Beautiful song.
Johnny Cash better watch out, because I think he did say he would kill the person that covered this song, so...
Yeah. He's been long dead, though, so it's all right. I'm now doing comedy versions of it in my head, thinking, who would be really, really bad at covering this?
Comedy version.
I've got it. Right. Here we go. Comedy version. Claire Grogan out of Altered Images doing it. How about that? You know what I mean? That would be a comedy one. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Yeah, she would be awful. Yeah, she would be truly awful. Who else could really screw this up? Let's not do that.
Gareth, we are starting to come towards the end of our conversation. But before we do,
I'm sorry if I've rambled.
Rambling's good. It's felt like a nice chat. What do you think this song choice says about you?
God. I think it says I'm ready to learn and I'm ready to be open to this kind of experience. I think it says that. I think it connects to, so say I'm writing about these cards, 3-card therapy, and I'm exploring these pictures and writing a handbook around it. And I'm doing that because I want to be more open and creative in therapy and less hidebound. And this music represents an opening to me, being less hidebound and less ordered and then more open. That's
very nice. Thanks for bringing this song. New one on me. And I feel richer now it's in my life. It has been a pleasure to speak with you.
That's lovely.
And where is the best place? I know you said you're off Instagram. Is there a place where people can find out more about you, your work, your therapy, your art?
Just go to the website, menshouldtalk.com.
Yeah.
Just the website, menshouldtalk.com. I don't know if I'm anywhere else. So, menshouldtalk.com. Gareth Palmer Art, I think, is still there. I don't know. Okay.
Thanks, Gareth. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye.
It's been really nice talking to you again, Shubeeh.
It's our time. It's our time. It's our time.